Hello everybody, this is Refresh, and I am here to talk to you about the Throne of Eldraine draft that I went to for Friday Night Magic. These aren't the actual packs that I cracked. These are just a few packs that I had on hand to demonstrate what it would look like when you're drafting and you have those 3 packs in front of you. But here are all the cards that I drafted, and you can see them first pack, second pack, and third pack from top to bottom, and then from right to left are the order of picks. So the rightmost card is the first pick, running all the way to the left. As you can see, my first choice was a Bone Crusher Giant. It's a rare, and it's great value. It's removal and a body in one card, and it's hard to ignore that. As you can see, my third pick was also a Bone Crusher Giant in the more mundane frame form. At first, I was going red-green, but the green started drying up, and the good blue cards, or at least medium blue cards, kept getting passed to me, so I ended up taking the blue cards, and as soon as I found that I was able to build enough of cards on a sub-theme of the draw the second card ability, I just ended up going heavy into that. So I started picking whatever cards would get me either a payoff for that card draw or the card draw itself. And I was fortunate enough that the Improbable Alliance came back to me towards the end, along with the Sage of the Falls. And then this is the deck that I built. As you can see, I pretty much just jammed in every removal card that I got, as well as all the cards that I drafted that had either ability to get me that second card on a turn or to get some sort of payoff for that second card on a turn. I think the most important engine is the Improbable Alliance, getting me theoretically a near infinite number of fairies, and then that ties in really well with the Sage of the Falls in a great combination, because when the Sage of the Falls enters the battlefield, it'll trigger a looting effect which causes the Improbable Alliance to make a fairy, and then the fairy comes into the battlefield which re-triggers the Sage of the Falls to do another looting effect. And so you can really churn through your whole deck. And yes, that is a potential liability in the case that I would go up against the mill deck, but on the second game I would probably just side in whatever cards I could play just to add a little bit more life to my game plan. So that's the basic deck. I think the only random cards that I had in there were the Crashing Drawbridge, which I just put in there so that I could attack with the new fairies that I made. Then I played my first game, and wowee, it was against a Gruul player, and it was also the only game in the match that we played because we went all the way to time. We would have tied, except for the fact that I drew a Searing Blaze on turn 4, and that had just enough damage for me to get through. So my Gruul opponent was playing Go Big, and so he made a lot of big creatures, forcing me to chump very frequently. However, because I had a Mad Ratter and I had the Improbable Alliance on the battlefield, I was making a lot of 1/1s. Unfortunately, because of the creatures that he was playing, it made it very difficult for me to attack on a regular basis. Once I got the Improbable Alliance, I was able to start making fairies, but I was down to 4 cards left, and so I could not draw any more than I had to. And I knew that the Searing Blaze was in there, so I was just holding on, hoping that I would draw it just in time to win. And I did. I won 1-0. And then I went to my second match, and that was against a Selesnya player. In the first game, we both mulliganed. My opponent was playing the green-white adventure-y sort of deck, but I think it was just like green-white decent cards. It was really more what he was going for. And I managed to remove most of his best threats, and then I just went wide. And again, with using my card draw effects to get me more spells and creatures, and then filter out the lands basically that I didn't need, and then also Improbable Alliance to make fairies, and at some point I managed to go super wide. For this game, after the first game, I realized that I needed my fairies to have a little bit more punch, so I actually traded the Crashing Drawbridge for the Heraldic Banner, and that turned out to be a great choice because the Heraldic Banner I could use either to increase the strength of my fairies, and I have many token generators there, or I could use it to increase the strength of my red cards. Now I ended up using it for my fairies because I had an Improbable Alliance, but it was a very good choice, and I think the Heraldic Banner should not be undervalued if you are playing any kind of go wide or fairies or token strategy that this set supports. So I won the first game because my opponent flooded towards the end, and I actually drew gas, even though I was mana screwed at the very start, and so I took a ton of damage before I was able to stabilize. And then in game 2, my opponent was simply mana screwed, and I just took advantage of that. outdrew my opponent and then went in for the win. So it was really hard. I didn't take any pleasure in crushing my opponent, but at the same time, like when you're given an advantage and your opponent's on the play and you took a mulligan, you just gotta take whatever advantage you can and run with it because it could turn all the way against you. So I ran with it, I made all the rats, and I attacked, go wide, and finished my opponent off in pretty quick order. The third match was against my fellow 2-0 player, and he was playing a Golgari Go Big deck with quite a good amount of food. In the very first game, I got mana screwed pretty badly early on, and that meant that I was just stuck primarily hoping that I would draw something at some point to stop his big beaters, but by the time that I even drew anything worthwhile, his creatures were so big that I was just forced to chump every single turn. They were even too big to remove with the spells that I had on hand, and so I was just stuck dying very, very badly to his deck. The second game, I was on the play, and this time I took advantage of my capacity to go wide and basically played a similar game to the ones that I won in the past, removing his biggest threat and then just slamming him with all the little guys that I could, and that ended up working pretty well for me, and so that was that. In the third game, it was a lot more heavily contested, and we actually got to a point where we were close to time, but we weren't quite there yet, and my opponent and I had a huge wide board which prevented my opponent from attacking, but he had a Garen Brig Paladin who was able to attack and could not be blocked by any of my creatures because of how small they were. And so because of that, I was actually on a 3-turn clock and only able to attack with a few creatures at a time because I would lose them. And so I was trying to go as big as possible, especially after he blew up my Heraldic Banner with the Return to Nature, so I wasn't able to get into extra damage with my flyers. And he had the Spider, which prevented my fairies from attacking profitably. And so I was just trying to go as wide as possible and then hit him once for the win. And I managed to get him down to 1 life, and then it was just top deck mode. Either I drew something that would get me the win, or my opponent would kill me the next turn with the Garen Brig Paladin, and I drew the Searing Blaze again, which let me kill his Garen Brig Paladin, and then, oh, he wasn't at 1 at that point, I think it was at 5, but that got rid of his only threat, and then we were both just top decking to get in there, and eventually I had amassed enough fairies and rats that I could just swing in for exactly lethal for 7 damage off of 1/1s that would go unblocked through all the food that he generated. And that was how I managed to go 3-0 in this particular draft. For my efforts, I won 4 packs of Throne of Eldraine, and then I got first pick from the promo booster that was given. So what Emerald Knights does is that they open up the promo booster, and then first and second place will get first and second pick from that booster, followed by 2 random people that had also participated. So there's a chance that everybody could walk home with a promo. But the promo that I chose was the promo finale of Revelation from War of the Spark, because it was a mythic rare, and it's a powerful effect, and I imagine that it's got to be useful somewhere. And the other rare promo that was in this pack was a promo Doom Foretold, but I had a pretty bad experience with that on Sealed, as you might have seen if you were watching the Sealed event, so that didn't turn out that well. I also got the Magic Arena code, which was whatever, but I got that as well. And that was my experience with Throne of Eldraine draft. Overall, I think that the set is kind of a slower set as far as I can tell right now. The food makes the games go a lot longer, even in draft, but there are some pretty bonkers synergies that you can really pull off in draft that you can't do as much in Sealed, and I really liked the banking a bazillion fairies and rats thing that my deck in particular was able to do, even though it is very susceptible to being milled to death, as I almost decked myself in the very first game. I think that it's possible that there is some sort of fun police aggressive deck that will work, probably involving 2 of the 3 Mardu colors, or maybe a monocolor deck. But I haven't quite found that yet. But I actually really enjoy the format right now as it is. I don't know how it's going to be on Arena until I try it. But I'm looking forward to playing a bit more of this, either in paper or on Arena. Let me know what you thought of my draft and the games that I played in the comments below. And also let me know what your experience with Throne of Eldraine draft in best of 3 paper or on arena was in the comments below as well. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more such videos, hit subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.